going to start with a beautiful song that I wrote in memory of my mother, who passed on to us children the love of music. He was born to the forest on the wings of a song. He heard the wind in the trees, and he learned to sing along. And there was one there who loved him. Oh, she held him when he cried, and she sang to him a woodland rockabye. Now through those growing up years, there were good times and bad. Through the bad times it seemed a song was the only friend he had. Through the good times he learned that a song could bring a smile, and he gave thanks to his woodland rockabye. And he asked her, "Did you sing to me as you carried me on your back? Mama, did you know someday your songs would bring me back? Or did you sing to me long before I was born, when your heart gave me breath and your soul kept me warm?" Well, then he left his willow cradle and he forgot his childhood songs. He walked out of the forest. He didn't know where he belonged. And there were years when he was lost, and there were times when he cried. He tried not to hear that woodland rockabye, but a tempted silence, it was a foreign sound. There was a yearning for returning to his forest ground. He came back to the land where his spirit did reside, on the wings of a song. She was by his side, and there was music on the meadows and in the forest once again. It is and will be as it was then. And he asked her, "Did you sing to me as you carried me on your back? Mama, did you know someday those songs would bring me back? Or did you sing to me long before I was born, when your heart gave me breath and your soul kept me warm?" And I actually did ask my mother that question, and she indeed told me that she started singing to us kids pretty much from day one. Not day one of birth, but day one of conception. Well, maybe they even sang during conception. For my mama, Ruth. Well, this rare movie, of which you're now going to see just a small little part, was originally a silent film that my dad lectured to and narrated. Later in the 70s, a soundtrack was added, money provided by the state legislature and the National Endowment for the Humanities. Pieces of it have been used in many films since then. And it'll give you a rare glimpse into that one-room log cabin where a whole lot of dreaming went on and a whole lot of singing. Pioneer family in Alaska.
By the mid-1930s, many homesteaders began to move into Homer. Homesteading universally was a family way of life. It required the will and the commitment of a complete family. Unlike any other adventure, homesteading was a marriage to life and land. One of the homesteading families whose presence at Homer has spanned 3 generations and has contributed significantly to the history of Alaska is the Kilcher family. While life on the Kilcher homestead was in many ways typical of homesteading in Alaska, it was unique in that the family documented its day-to-day life on motion picture film. This rare collection of footage is the only filmed chronicle in color of a pioneer family's life over a period of 30 years. For the Kilcher children, the document is a personal and joyous bond to their parentage and their home place. For the rest of us, it is a legacy to our collective heritage.
So we'd put up hay in the summer for the cows and horses, just leave it in haystacks out in the field. In the winter, he'd take that sled.
4 years of building a grubstake, refinery, were able to homestead in Catchment Bay. That was not in the years the old fox farmer's cabin. A tiny little stable tumbled down that you had to brace up, just enough room enough for a horse and a cow, half a dozen chickens. I had to cut the trail onto the bluff with a mattock and an axe, the shovel and all. Logged whole winter runs just before the days of the chainsaw with the axe and saw, cut the logs together. You start building that cabin, which took a couple of years and so on.
His main tools: an axe, a broad axe, crosscut saw, PV, and a team of horses. Not many people in that area had horses, so he was ahead of the game. Built a whole log house with nothing but pegs. Went to Sweden and logged a whole winter. So he learned how to be a logger, learned how to build a house, so when he came to Alaska, he'd know what he was doing. My mama, she went to finishing school in France, learned how to spin and sew and weave and cook, learned about homeopathy. She was a lady way ahead of her time, because she knew that where they were going, that was it. Kid gets sick, you better know what to do. And you better know what wild things you can pick to make your potions and teas.
There was 2 or 3 farmers. During the war, farming was quite active. There was about 10-15 farmers during the war. We sold our produce in Kodiak. A barge came over every 2 or 3 weeks, and they picked up stuff here. I had a milk cow, and the first summer we sold cottage cheese and butter in town. And I had a truck garden, so every week or 2, I packed stuff into home 12 miles and made about $600 net. We made it an art living off the country by eating raw vegetables, living off the game, the fish, and eventually a simple, satisfying life. My father was an expert mushroom gatherer in Switzerland, had books on things, which I took with me when I came here. To my great surprise, I found that most varieties of European Arctic mushrooms grow in Alaska also. So we have a bit of mushrooms around here. Berries, we always pick berries. And I learned all the things here from pioneers, neighbors. I never thought about eating nettles, for instance. The nettle is one of the best vegetables. Very good tasting, very rich in many regards. Like most coastal homesteaders in those days, I had to look for additional income. The handiest thing to do then was the relatively short, though dangerous, fishing for red salmon in Bristol Bay in the Bering Sea.
Somebody remind me later to tell you a story about this fishing scene here.
1,200 men fished in those days. 1% was expected to lose their lives, but with a little luck, you could make a neat sum of money. Oklahoma was kind of nice. It had about 300 people when I came here. The people in Oklahoma got together and built their own dock. Very cooperative. Every spring, they got together and brought the whole country. Right back, the people got together and strung telephones for 20 miles. As more settlers moved in, we formed the Cattlemen's Association, sent one of the young men out to acquire some purebred white-faced cattle. It is quite an industry in Homer now to raise good beef in the relatively mild climate.
The sound is ever too loud or too soft.
We were still too far away from a school,
relying on,
which at some point suited us.
Don't hesitate.
We taught the children at home. They didn't have to waste 3 hours on the way to and from school, as they later did.
Mostly ate what we could grow, or hunt, or gather.
Learn what mother and father could tell them, to play on the beaches, to get acquainted with nature and its many lovable creatures.
I have that sealskin. I got it. It's old, but it's still in one piece.
Where mother would